Good Friday afternoon to you, 4 o'clock time for Sports4CLE. Thanks for joining us. Hope your weekend is off to a great start. NFL draft analyst Dane Brugler. His thoughts about Shedeur Sanders and how he lasted until the 5th round in the draft.
This is a perfect example of how important the spring is for quarterbacks. The fact that Dillon Gabriel was a day 2 pick and Shedeur Sanders wasn't, just explains everything about how important the interview process is, just the way you conduct yourself. Quarterback is an intangible position. And unless you are, and people will scream, oh, we draft, or NFL teams draft, criminals and bad people and this and that. And, Shedeur is not that. But quarterback is an intangible position. And if you don't have enough talent and traits, then the juice isn't worth the squeeze. So, yeah, guys that are immensely talented, teams will still roll the dice on those guys, even with some of the question marks. Shedeur Sanders is an average, toolsy guy. I mean, in terms of the tools, they're average. The size, the arm strength, the mobility. He does plenty of good things playing the position. He's tough, he's accurate, he's poised. But I don't think he put enough on film to make you believe that he's going to be a top 15 NFL starter.
And the other thing about quarterback, you're tied to the hip of the coach. You guys interact repeatedly. So, again, I get what Dane Brugler is saying. Former NFL offensive lineman Damon Woody with his thoughts on the Browns quarterback situation.
If I'm Kevin Stefanski, my focus would be on the 2 drafted players. We know what Joe Flacco is, and we know what Kenny Pickett is. We know in 2026 they have 2 first-round picks. So I think for the Cleveland Browns, the priority should be trying to find out if one of these 2 rookie quarterbacks could be your long-term solution. Kevin Stefanski is one of the best play callers in the National Football League, and so I think both these guys will have a great opportunity to really try to establish themselves this year and this year only.
Thing I keep saying is the quarterback that starts the season and plays until it looks like things are going sideways has to be the guy that gives you the best chance of winning. You can figure out between Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders in practice and later in the year. You can't do it on the field while you feel like you're competitive. You got to go out and try to win. CBS Sports, Tyler Sullivan, grading the Browns' 2025 offseason.
I give him a C+, and it's like a bad version of the Brady Bunch in that quarterback room, right? You're talking about the old head and Joe Flacco. You have Kenny Pickett, who is just kind of weirdly sitting around. And then when they brought in Dillon Gabriel at the NFL draft, you're like, okay, here it comes. They're completely out on Shedeur Sanders. And you get to the 5th round, and all of a sudden, who's the pick? It's Shedeur Sanders. The whole thing is just absolutely confusing. And to me, it says that they're kicking the quarterback decision down in 2026. Yes, they did bring in Shedeur, and that's the guy that everybody was thinking pre-draft could be their answer long-term. And sure, possibly that could be it if it plays out that way. But ultimately, the actions of the Cleveland Browns tell you that they don't view him as a legitimate starting quarterback in the NFL. If they did, they would have taken him in the 2nd round or somewhere in day 2. Who knows? Maybe even in the 1st round if they really wanted to after they traded down. But overall, this team is building for the future. They're adding on defense and Mason Graham with the number 5 overall pick. They're gaining assets by trading down. Overall, this team is not necessarily a contender in 2025. They're looking more towards 2026 and 2027. Maybe.
And the only thing I'd push back on what they looked at with Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round is the risk of a 5th round pick isn't very much. The reward, if you find a quarterback, pretty high. Risk reward. The risk at 2 or in the 2nd round is pretty high. And the reward, it's still high. But again, 5th round, there's no downside to taking Shedeur Sanders. All right, Guardians and the Twins wrapping up 4-game series. Guardians trying to make it 3 out of 4 over their Central Division rival. First inning, Guardians get it rolling. Kyle Manzardo, who had the walk-off a couple days ago, RBI single to make it 1-0 Guardians. This is a good sign. John Kenzie Noel at the plate in the 4th inning, and this one's just crushed. 450 feet and gone to left field to make it 2-0. 7th inning, already a run in for the Twins, Carlos Correa. And he hits one up the middle, and it will bring in another run to tie it at 2. Pretty good outing for Ben Lively, 5 2/3 scoreless, but game tied at 2 in the 10th inning, and it is a sacrifice fly by Jonah Bride. and that will plate the go-ahead run. 3-2 Twins lead in the 10th. Still 3-2 in the 10th. Jose Ramirez, an RBI single to tie the game up at 3. He stole second, 250th career steal. Then it's Angel Martinez, and Angel Martinez walks it off. An RBI single to plate Ramirez. Guardians make it 3 out of 4 over the Twins, 4-3 the final. Again, Ben Lively, pretty good 5 2/3 before the first rain delay.
It's a testament to hard work for a really long time and being really, really good for a long time. And Jose came through big with the hit, and then he gets the stolen base and the milestone and scores a winning run as well. He should have. So he just continues to get accolade after accolade, and I really enjoy watching him.
It was like 5 hours ago, but Ben Lively gave you a solid.
Ben was outstanding once again. Got himself out of some trouble, but you know, for Ben, even when he doesn't have his best stuff, he attacks and he pitches, and he and Hedgie did a great job maneuvering through that lineup.
Guardians start a weekend series in Toronto tonight against the Blue Jays. It'll be Chris Bassett taking on Logan Allen for the Guardians. Cavs and Pacers, game 1 will be Sunday at Rocket Arena. Kenny Atkinson, Donovan Mitchell talked about the Pacers and how the Cavs match up with them.
Fast, pace, very talented team, well coached, obviously led by Tyrese, Pascal. They got a bigs that can shoot, got wings, they got Nembhard, who's really and then McConnell, who are a pest defensively. So they're a talented team, man. And, you know, this is a series we're going to be, got to be ready to go from the jump. They're battle tested. They've been to the conference finals. I know some of their guys were hurt and whatnot, but it's a battle tested team. As you saw, in game 4, especially being down 20, really withstanding that whole run and then coming back and winning. So we got to be prepared and got to be ready to go.
JA's next step is be able to guard 5 out. I think it's a challenge, but he's more than capable with his versatility. It's more switching, his mindset. The talent's there, the defensive capability is there. But listen, we're gonna have to read the series. I will say this. They have 5 out, but we also have 2 bigs offensively. So they're going to have to guard us too, right? Like it's a hard guard for us, but I think when we play those 2 bigs together with our offensive rebounding, our pick and roll offense with J.A. rolling, they're going to have to, they're going to have to guard him. What might seem like a disadvantage for us on one end, it could be an advantage for us on the other.
Kenny Atkinson has made a lot of really good moves. They'll need him to continue to do that in the Eastern Conference semis against the Pacers. Again, game 1, Sunday evening. Some news from the San Antonio Spurs as well. Greg Popovich, who was dealing with some health issues all season long pretty much, no longer the head coach of the Spurs, transitioning to full-time team president. Popovich, Basketball Hall of Famer, NBA's all-time winningest coach, led the Spurs to 5 championships as their head coach. They're hiring assistant Mitch Jordan as their next head coach. So Greg Popovich goes from the bench to the front office. Certainly hope his health is staying with him as well. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Browns are up first. It's G. Bush, Sports for CLE. We'll be right back talking Browns with G. Bush. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program is dedicated to recognizing exceptional students, teachers, and schools throughout Ohio. Scan the QR code on screen to nominate students and teachers as Academic All-Stars and Teachers of the Month. They must be currently enrolled or teach in grades K through 12. Is your K through 12 school developing students' literacy skills to achieve success in reading? If so, you can nominate your school for the School of the Year. Students can win $100, teachers can win $500, and schools can win $2,500. Scan the QR code, fill out the forms, and nominate deserving students, teachers, and schools today. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program takes pride in honoring exceptional students, teachers, and schools across Ohio. Submit your nomination today. It's fun, fast, and free. Browns are first up on Sports for CLE, and we head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey, Dave. Love the show. Just have a question about the whole Nick Chubb thing, maybe a comment. So what's going on with Chubb? Are they going to bring him back? I know they're talking about, well, his knee injuries, he's not going to be the same. I tell you what, I'd rather have him over Jerome Ford any day of the week and twice on Sunday. Do you have any insight if they're going to bring him back or if they're just going to let him go somewhere else? And if we've seen the last of Nick Chubb. Just want to hear your thoughts. Go Browns. Oh, oh, oh.
The voicemails. It appears that it will be Jerome Ford coming back and that Nick Chubb will likely be going elsewhere. Ford took a pay cut from his scheduled amount, which was $3.4 million, down to a fully guaranteed $1.75 million. That's according to Over the Cap and Daniel Salib, who does a lot of that. Let's welcome in Garrett Bush, Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, as well as the Barbershop. I'm guessing Nick Chubb will probably be able to get a little bit better contract somewhere else, like the Bears. I don't want to completely rule it out, but Jerome Ford taking a pay cut, about half, to guarantee it, likely means he's going to be that third of four backs in that room.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's looking like Nick Chubb is going to be a person that's not going to be back with the Cleveland Browns. And I tried hard to root for him. Like, I think everybody in the locker room, everybody in the media, everybody in the city of Cleveland, the Browns fans really would love to have Nick Chubb back and have him back in the mix. But when you draft two running backs, Quinshon Judkins and Dylan Sampson, Jerome Ford takes the pay cut, giving him a guaranteed deal of about 1.7. It puts you at a specific situation where it looks more and more likely that Nick Chubb won't be back. It's a shame because I think he's starting to hit his stride a little bit. He has some of the workout stuff out there. But I think the Browns went into this draft thinking that they wanted to flip over the running back room. And, it sucks a little bit because we're used to Nick Chubb. I think that they feel like they can get a little more juice out of some of the younger backs. He's reaching the age of 30. And I think they're comfortable with what they have, and they think that they can have a guy like Quinshon Judkins who is going to be, hopefully what Nick Chubb was, a guy that's going to be a bell cow running back, lean on the running game a little bit here. And I think, unfortunately, Nick Chubb will probably end up in Chicago, which is a good spot for him. They've retooled their offensive line. They got a young quarterback in Caleb Williams and some weapons on the outside. Nick Chubb fits perfectly in that division. He goes from the AFC North to the NFC North. And I think it'll help him out a little bit. You give the fact that, you got a couple dome teams up there that you're going to be playing a couple times a year. I think it's a good position for him, and I wish him the best of luck. I wish we could have kept him, but it looks like the writing's on the wall.
Yeah, and again, I think he has something left, and I think that's kind of what you were getting at. But I also understand you need to get younger and kind of have a plan moving forward. So this is Quinshon Judkins. We've seen him play for Ohio State. Took him in the second round. This is a 220-pound guy who's 6 foot. And G. Bush, that's a big man to have feet like that.
Yeah, see, this is why you start to see why they might want to move on from Nick Chubb a little bit. As crazy as that sounds, there is nothing like fresh young legs, right? There's nothing like a guy like this with fresh young legs. He looks like he's stout in the lower body. He's low center of gravity. He's going to be a very tough guy to bring down in the open field. And this is very tantalizing. I think the Cleveland Browns are going to run this football. I think they're going to be able to do that with 12 personnel now. They got another tight end that you can have to worry about in the passing game. Mix that in with some play action stuff. I think the Browns running game will be back a little more closer to what we saw. And now I won't say it's the heyday with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb and Dearness Johnson. I mean, I just remember the way the Cleveland Browns went to Dallas a couple of years ago and just put it on the Cowboys. Just, you can't stop us. We gonna run this football. That was the heyday of what the Cleveland Browns want to do. Not sure we're gonna get there this year, but you can see what ideas they got for a guy with those fresh legs. And when you get to a point where you got a guy who is a young guy coming out of college, does not have that many carries on him, split some carries last year, I'm excited about what the run game could possibly be this year.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I like Dylan Sampson, too. And I think, to your point, I think they complement each other real well. Todd McShay, Ringer draft analyst, former draft analyst for ESPN for a number of years, talked about Andrew Berry's decision to trade back in the draft from 2 to 5.
You know what takes real onions?
Yeah, it does.
Real onions. When you haven't been winning and you're going to bypass Shohei Ohtani possibly and trade back to get next year's, you talk about someone who's sitting in that seat in Andrew Berry, who is taking the organizational priorities and putting it ahead of his priorities and Kevin Stefanski's priorities of winning now to save their jobs. He feels safe, and hopefully Jimmy Haslam has told him you are safe because he just made a move of a general manager who has the luxury to do that, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant. They move back and get a defensive tackle in Mason Graham that most teams, not all, but most teams viewed as a top 5, top 7 player. Some teams saw him at like 3 or 4. You put him next to Myles Garrett.
Right. Who apparently loved the pick, by the way.
How could you not?
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
And so now it's going to be ferocious.
I love that.
Tenacious.
Word. There you go.
Ferocious. This front with Malik Collins, Shelby Harris, Myles Garrett, it's going to be fun to watch.
G. Bush, I don't have a problem with that necessary trade. And what I have a problem with is this team needs some playmakers. And I think Hunter could have been a playmaker. I understand. I understand the thought if he had to play. I don't think you can rely on him playing both sides of the football. Nobody's been able to do that. So I don't want to rely on a guy to do something that nobody has done in the NFL. But I do want some playmakers, and I want some early draft capital spent on skill position guys. And we didn't get it again. Second round, yeah, I love Judkins. Give me another guy early.
I think most people, you look there, you have Luther Burden on the roster, or excuse me, on the board where you can take that pick. There's multiple receivers, and one thing that we're going to realize this year, you have a guy in Jerry Jeudy, but you look like you're resetting some stuff. You got Deontay Johnson that you kind of brought in as a flyer, has some character issues, some stuff off the field. That's been well documented. You got Cedric Tillman, you got Jamari Thrash, and Mike Woods, some other guys like that. But when you talk about your skill position groups at receiver, you're probably the worst group in the league. You probably have the worst set of receivers in the league. And when guys have 2 or 3 receivers, you're gonna, it's trouble for you. Here's the thing that I want to get to, and I hear it all draft. I hear it all the time. Well, G. Bush, it's the trenches. It's the trenches. Hey, it's the trenches. You got to build the guys up front and all that good. And I understand that. But they always bring up the Philadelphia Eagles as if the Philadelphia Eagles don't have Jalen Hurts, who's been to a Super Bowl twice, as if the Philadelphia Eagles do not have A.J. Brown, as if they don't have Devontae Smith, as they don't have a really great plethora of tight ends, and they went out and got the best running back in Saquon Barkley the year before. When you talk about their skill position units, they are probably a top 5 skill position unit in the league, but all we look at is the defensive line because that's what we want to convince ourselves that this is what it's all about. No, it's about scoring points. When you're in this league, and you're trying to score points, you got to understand illegal contact is down the field is a first down. When you talk about pass interference, is a spot foul. When you talk about what quarterbacks can do and what you can't hit a quarterback, you can't tackle him in the head, you can't hit him in the face. The league is set up for offenses to score points, and at some point, I get it. At some point, you're going to have to say, I get the fact that we are a blue-collar city, but the game evolves. you have to have skill positions out east and west, and they can get north and south. And I know sometimes, the personalities of receivers kind of rub people the wrong way, or the personality of guys that put the ball in the end zone can rub somebody the wrong way. But we're going to have to actually come to the conclusion that you need those guys to win football games. And you're going to have to just shut up and take a look at it and say, listen, hey, I would rather have a guy that has a little bit of a quirky personality or wants to have fun when he gets in the end zone, as long as he getting in the end zone. So next year we got 2 first-round picks. If it's not a quarterback, they have to go skill position and get some weapons, man.
I'm with you. They haven't taken a wide receiver under Andrew Berry before the third round. They had 2 third-rounders. All right. Now, Mason Graham again, they took him with the 5th overall pick. I don't have an issue with that. He's a really good defensive tackle. Some think 5 is kind of high for a DT. Former defensive tackle Gerald McCoy explains why DTs are so important in this NFL. This from the Ross Tucker podcast.
We've seen Chris Jones have a lot of dominant games.
Yeah.
One of the most dominant games I've ever seen him have was this past AFC Championship, and nobody knows it because they're not looking for it. What he did to those offensive linemen is demoralizing. He was literally like taking grown men every play, regardless of if it was a run or pass, and putting them 4 yards in the backfield. As an offensive lineman, that's constantly happening. At some point, you're going to be like, all right, enough is enough.
Right.
When you have a guy like that's doing that, it is demoralizing to an offense because now the play caller is saying, hey, listen, whatever we do, understand this person is going to be there that fast. So you have to get it together. And to your point, back to team building, you got to get a guy who can throw the ball, and then you got a guy who can go get the guy who can throw the ball. So we think about quarterback, and then we think about our blindside defensive ends. Well, the game is evolving. It's a lot of lateral runs.
Yeah.
It's not downhill anymore. So how do you kill finesse offenses, side-to-side runs with penetration?
Yep.
If you're getting guys on the end, we talk about defense, guys set the edge, which makes everything funnel back to the middle of the defense. But when you have side-to-side runs, a guy in the middle who's poking a hole in that run, that's what messes everything up.
G-Bush, you will understand exactly that because that's where he played. He and Myles Garrett together should be pretty good.
Yeah, I'll throw in, and I'll play devil's advocate a little bit before I get to the good stuff. The devil's advocate is you got Mike Hall Jr. last year.
Yeah.
If you're a Travis Hunter guy and you love the fact that you don't like the fact that Travis Hunter is not a Cleveland Brown, you can say, well, listen, how much assets and how much money are we going to put on the defensive front? We've always brought in another pass rusher, whether it's Darius Smith or Jadeveon Clowney or Olivier Vernon. Most of our money, when we talk about free agents, Shelby Harris was a guy. Dalvin Tomlinson was our biggest free agent a couple of years ago. They go out in free agency and get the pass rusher from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who was a former first-round pick. So some people are going to say, look, I get it. But you've really put a lot of emphasis and put a lot of different things on the front 7. Like you drafted Perion Winfrey in, I believe, in the 3rd or 4th round. Siaki Ika was a guy up there that you had put up, had drafted. Tommy Togiai. Those guys didn't pan out. At some point, you want to spread it around and get you some guys to actually put the ball in the end zone. But with that being said, they made the pick at 5. Now, if he's at 5, here's what I'm going to say. Aaron Donald didn't go 5. Warren Sapp didn't go 5. Those are 2 of the best defensive tackles I've seen play. If you're going to be at 5, you better be a day one starter. I don't want to see no rotating. I don't want to say he's behind whoever they got up there. I don't want to see it out. He better be a day one starter. As a matter of fact, there's no reason not to be playing Big Ten football inside. It should be Mike Hall and it should be Mason Graham. Boom, boom, boom. They should be in there. Now, what you want to get from them is that penetration. What you want to do is get that penetration, and it's a really good fit for what Jim Schwartz wants to do. He wants to play the run on the way back to the quarterback. He wants penetration. He wants guys to be athletic in there. And the Cleveland Browns should be good at that area. Here's the thing. We still need to see what's going to go on with the linebacker unit. I see why they got Schlesinger. He's a guy who is basically going to be the JOK. He's going to take his position. We'll see what happens with JOK. I don't think he's going to be playing this year. I think it's a long-term thing if he plays ever again. This is just me coming from a guy who has neck issues. But the defensive line should be good. The defensive line should be one of the strengths of the team. But he better be starting day one at 5th pick. I'm just saying 10. I'm telling you that right now. You pass on Travis Hunter, he better be good.
You know what? He better make Myles Garrett better too. I'll take it a step further. He better free up Myles Garrett a little bit to go and play like he did a couple years ago when he won Defensive Player of the Year. G. Bush and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. We'll talk a little bit about quarterback in the offense. Sports for CLE. Be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns with G. Bush from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show in the Barbershop. Dan Orlovsky, former NFL quarterback, on the Browns quarterback situation.
It was obvious that once they traded out of the number 2 position, that at least at that position, there wasn't looking forward to 2026. That you get that second first-round pick in 2026. I understand value, but when you're an organization that doesn't have a quarterback, that is naturally going to be, rightfully so, what we attach the thought process to. So there's, and initially my mind goes to, okay, there's got to be overall looking at that class and saying there's some really high potential guys that might be in that class. So if you are the Browns and that's your thought process, I agree with you. Joe can go out and play probably competent football tomorrow. So if that's what you have, and you think as an organization that the general manager and the head coach are the right people, really indifferent of results this year, outside of, oh my gosh, it's a total disaster, then I really do think you want to do everything you can to figure out Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. And did you find a guy that all of a sudden becomes Brock Purdy, all of a sudden becomes Dak Prescott, all of a sudden becomes a mid-round pick that overplays where he was selected, and maybe then quarterback's not that pressing need in the first round next year. Maybe you get to be in the advantageous situation that not only did you steal a starting quarterback, but you got him in a later rounds, and now you can really build a roster that can go on a 2 or 3 year run around that quarterback.
So, G. Bush, before we get to the quarterback discussion, this is ranking the worst NFL quarterback rooms. They have the Steelers as the worst. That's Mason Rudolph, Will Howard, Skylar Thompson. The expectation is that potentially Aaron Rodgers will be there. The Colts are the next with Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones, Riley Leonard, and Jason B. And then they have the Browns third with Watson, Flacco, Pickett, Dillon Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders. I get the thought. I don't think you can't go to, well, we got to figure out between Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel until you have the entire competition. You have to try to win when the season starts. At some point, if you're not winning, then it becomes getting that. But you don't start the season saying, we got to get the answer between Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. You go out and say, is either one of these guys going to beat 40-year-old Joe Flacco or a guy in Kenny Pickett that hasn't had a lot of success in the NFL?
I get really frustrated with this because, it just seems like, in the media, we are in the business of projecting and never actually settling and watching what's going on during the year. The most frustrating thing is to hear people say this doesn't matter and that doesn't matter. All that matters is finding out what the quarterback is or Arch Manning or whatever. And these are the same exact reasons why Myles Garrett and veterans get upset. And then we get upset at them because they say dude, we're not trying to win. I don't want to play these games. I want to try to win. And then we get mad at him like, oh, well, why are you mad? I mean, why would you be upset? You know where we're at in our rebuild. And it's like, no, the Cleveland Browns have to get to a point where I want to be where some of these other teams are, where it doesn't matter what's going on. We have a culture and a standard of winning, and we're going to compete regardless. And I know people don't like to hear, well, do you want to really just be in the middle, or, would you rather bottom out? We've been bottoming out for 40 years, man. And at some point in time, I would like my coaching staff, I would like the front office to say, listen, this is what we're about. Just the next guy up. We want to draft well enough. We want to get free agents. We want to develop well enough that we can develop some guys that we got. My thing is this: you bring all 4 of these dudes in, and I'm excited about the opportunity to see them compete. Last year, it was Camp Cupcake.
Yep.
Everybody was given jobs. Everybody was, this guy's hurt. This guy's hurt. Let's just get him to the season. And you see what just getting to the season looks like. You get 3 wins. I want guys to go out there, whether it's Dylan Gabriel, whether it's Shedeur Sanders, whether it's Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco. I want the best guy to win. I want them to give them the keys, and I want them to fight it out in the arena like it's Gladiator. I want to see who's the best. I'll also, hey, Quinshon Judkins, I like you a lot, but Dylan Sampson is pretty good. Hey, Jerome Ford, Hey, do you want us to add something to your game? Because guess what? We can add something to your game, and you can keep your job. I want to see these guys fight it out and actually go through training camp so we can watch and evaluate, and then get to the season, and let's try to win football games. My goal isn't to maximize these picks where everybody's dream is like, hey, well, we were terrible this year. We got a first round pick, and then we got the Jaguars pick. So now listen, I'm sorry. I could care less about what Arch Manning is doing right now. I don't even know if he's coming out. Nussmeier, whatever the case may be, we'll catch you guys next year. But as for today, we're trying to build something. That's what we're trying to do.
Well, the other thing is, and I said this last year when they kept trotting Deshaun Watson out after week 5, 6, how do you sell that to the other 53 guys that are getting torn ACLs and broken bones and torn up triceps? They're beating the crap out of themselves to try to win football games. You better put the best players on the field.
That's it. And I'm going to be the first to say it. I have no bias about it. Hey, if Kenny Pickett wants to come out here and be the greatest, he wants to salvage his career, great. If Dylan Gabriel, say what you want about him, and he's a 3rd-round pick, he's undersized, maybe not have an NFL arm. If he wants to come out here and dominate camp, so be it. We'll rock with Kenny Pickett or Flacco or whatever the case may be. But I'm not into the business of giving nobody do anybody no favors. The Cleveland Browns won 3 games last year. I want to see them put it together just like the Washington Commanders did. I know they got a franchise quarterback, but this happens year after year. We know it. It's been documented. Teams go from 3 to 11. Teams could go from 4 to 10, 12 wins in a season, and why not you? But I'm not in the business of fast forwarding no games, talking about let's get to the dome. I'm a football guy at heart, and I believe when you put the pads on and you put your body and your time and energy and effort like they do, the wins is the only thing you're getting out of that. And I don't care nothing about no college quarterbacks at this point. We'll catch you next year if you're available.
So Browns did not add a wide receiver in the draft. They did add Deontay Johnson, which we mentioned. So there's still some free agent wide receivers available, and here is the list. Keenan Allen, he's 33, a lot of production in his career, and not recently. Amari Cooper, we saw that a little bit earlier last year, and then didn't do much with the Bills. Aguilar's 31, Chark 28, Tyler Boyd 30, Jamison Crowder 31. If this was, a grocery store, shelf, it's hurricane season for NFL wide receivers because it's pretty bare.
Slim pick.
Any of them interest you?
Man, I thought Amari Cooper's athletic ability just fell off he hit the wall tough. He was running like a tight end. Allen he's been hurt a lot over the last 3 or 4 years. Nelson Aguilar, I'm like, man, there is nothing on that list that intrigues me. I can see why they went after. I can see why they put the tender on Elijah Moore.
Yep.
And I can also see why they went and got Deontay Johnson. Now that I look at that list, for me, this is where your drafting comes into play. Cedric Tillman, if you're watching, feel free to step up this year, buddy. If you're Jamari Thrash, don't know what happened last year, didn't get much of an opportunity to show what you got. Well, guess what? This year, you're going to get an opportunity. I want to see these guys running and rotating out there. We got one right now, Jerry Jeudy. We're looking for 3, 4, 5 more. Please feel free, Deontay Johnson, that if you want to resurrect your career, show that you're a veteran and with some talent and look like the guy that was at Pittsburgh when Big Ben was there, we welcome that. But right now, I think they're going to have to look in-house or they're going to be either looking in-house or you're going to see a lot of Harold Fannin Jr. and David Njoku and 2 tight end sets, but they're going to run some things where they can get vertical. But that's what it might be. They may be looking for 1 or 2 guys. Other than that, they may be using a lot of heavy tight end packages and getting the ball to the backs on screens and things like that.
G. Bush, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much.
Appreciate you.
G. Bush, make sure you check him out. Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, 11 to 1, Monday through Friday. Also, the Barbershop on the weekends. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. We continue talking Browns. Jacob Roach from the Orange and Brown Report and the Barking Browns podcast. Straight ahead. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns on Sports4CLE. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hi, I'm calling from out west in Beehive State. Last time when Flacco was for the Browns, the running back room was, to put it politely, rather weak. Now with the new rookies playing who appear to be very strong running backs, would you expect that the touchdown to interception ratio for Joe would improve because he won't have to rely totally on his arm and that the running backs will be able to shoulder some of the load? Thank you for taking my call. Have a good day. Bye.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Let's welcome in Jacob Roach from the Orange and Brown Report and the Barking Browns podcast. The run game will certainly help, but Flacco's a guy that has turned the ball over historically, and I'm not convinced that he's going to be the starter week 1. I think if it goes the way Kevin Stefanski would like it to, it's probably Kenny Pickett week 1.
Yeah, they've said a lot. Like, it's very interesting because I said on some draft coverage that I thought, well, maybe these 2 quarterbacks mean Kenny Pickett's out. But they've really talked a lot about giving him the opportunity to go and win that job. So I think kind of maybe betting favorite should probably be Kenny Pickett. I'm not completely there yet. We'll see what OTAs and stuff look like. But to the caller's initial question, yeah, whoever it is, I do think it's going to happen. Help a whole bunch. We talked about them going back to Kevin Stefanski's offense and trying to rebuild this run game so that whoever the quarterback ended up being, there wasn't so much on them. And so the question, do I think if Flacco or whoever is the quarterback that the turnover ratio would go down? Yeah, it would go down because you're going to look at him. He was throwing 45, 50 times a game in 2023, and you're probably only you want to keep him under 40, whoever the quarterback is. So, yeah, certainly it's going to help, but I'm with you, Dave. I'm very curious to see how this quarterback competition actually plays out.
And to your point, in order for them to win games, they cannot have the negative turnover margin that they've had the last 2 years. It's got to be a positive, and the way that they're setting this up, you got to take care of the football or you might be looking at 3 wins again. And I don't think that's going to be the case. I want to preface that by saying I think they will figure it out. You would think it would even out. They're due for it to even out. If it doesn't even out, it's going to be a long season. Browns drafted 2 running backs in Quinshon Judkins, Dylan Sampson, and we found out earlier today that Jerome Ford has renegotiated his contract, now guaranteed $1.75 million, a little bit of a pay cut. Former NFL front office type Louis Riddick with his thoughts about a perfect fit for Nick Chubb.
RC talked about the fact that, they want to protect Caleb Williams first and foremost. Well, how do you protect him? By running the football, setting up play action, have a real credible running threat, right? So they rebuilt the interior three of their offensive line. That should be able to get some movement at the point of attack. I said earlier today, Nick Chubb needs to go ahead right now and be beating down the door of the Chicago Bears and saying, hey, look, I want to run behind this offensive line. I want to be a part of this. And Caleb Williams should be going, yeah, Nick, come play for us. Because think about this. Think about some of the people that we have on the perimeter now as far as us being able to stretch the field, attack every blade of grass. Not every team can just load the box and play 8-man fronts. So there's going to be space for anyone. And who's better at calling plays, depending upon how defenses are trying to play his offense, than Ben Johnson?
Jacob, I think Nick Chubb has something left. I understand the Browns thought we got to get younger and more durable and have a. I understand both things. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Nick Chubb goes to the Bears and has a pretty good year.
Yeah, you watch those workout videos of him jumping those hurdles and stuff, and I'm like, maybe the explosion isn't 100% of what Nick Chubb was before the knee injury, but it's certainly not just like he's not a complete and utter shell of himself. Like, I personally would love to have Nick Chubb back. I've got the jersey downstairs, just because I'm a Nick Chubb guy through and through. I've got an autographed helmet, from him from training camp a few years back. But I do think that Chicago would make a lot of sense if because of exactly what Lewis said. I think he would fit into that Ben Johnson system really well. And I still won't rule out him coming to Cleveland and the Browns potentially moving Jerome Ford. I talked to Jack Duffin about it, just was curious about the cap hit. And it sounds like that guaranteed salary would actually be no dead cap if they traded him. So I do think that Chubb return is still on the table if they think they can get an asset for Jerome Ford. But unfortunately, it does feel less likely by the day.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if, in fact, the Bears want him and give him a little bit of money and incentivize it so it could be more. You wrote an article kind of grading each of the picks in the draft class, and we kind of see it A's and B's except for the real head scratcher, Dylan Gabriel, which gives C- to overall grade of a B. Absolutely fair. Let's talk a little bit about Dylan Gabriel, and I get the questions about him. We've said, we want to let Kevin Stefanski pick his quarterback. This is apparently the guy that he settled on. There were a lot of people on the board still, and there are some things. He's a smaller guy. He's 5'11". He's got a cannon for an arm, and he has had success against some pretty good competition and has played a bunch of college football.
Yeah, and the only reason I'm one of the biggest Dylan Gabriel fans in this in the draft community. I love Dylan Gabriel, the player. I only gave it a C- because I think you could have got him a little bit later. I thought he was overdrafted, but it's definitely. I've thought this for months, and I've said it over at the OBR. Like, that's a Kevin Stefanski guy. I mean, he's got plenty of arm, like you talked about. His arm's not quite Cam Ward's. It's not quite as big as Jalen Milrose. But go watch his tape. He can throw it 40 yards downfield with good accuracy. He may not be pinpoint accurate like Shedeur, but he's very accurate. You talked about the 63 career starts. I think he plays the quarterback position like a point guard does in basketball, where he just distributes the ball on time. We talk about the issues with Deshaun Watson a lot, where he needed to see the guy open. He couldn't throw with anticipation. Well, that's not the case with Dylan Gabriel. He thrives in structure. If you scheme up something and you say, hey, I need the ball to be at this spot at this time, he's going to get it out. He's going to get it on time, and it's going to be accurate. And he's risk adverse. He threw like 1.6%, I think, was his turnover worthy play percentage last year. And you got to remember, they were undefeated until Ohio State took him down in the playoffs. He had a great, very productive career, just smart, accurate, on time, understands the job. And he knows, hey, I'm not an elevator. I don't have Cam Ward's arm talent. Like, I'm not that guy. I can't throw it quite as far as Jalen Milroe does. But I understand that if I get the ball out to my playmakers and I let them make plays in space, and they've got several guys that can do that, then I can be successful. I think I would not be shocked by him starting games this year and being a pretty good quarterback.
Well, what you just described was Kirk Cousins or Case Keenum in Kevin Stefanski's offense. You're right. I mean, that's when you say that, I'm like, gosh, that sounds to me like what Kevin Stefanski likes.
Yeah, he does his job. I think one thing I said on the OBR during our Draft Cave stream was I look at him as an extension of his offensive play caller. We talk a lot last year about why Bo Nix and Sean Payton were so successful together and how Bo Nix was just basically did exactly what Sean Payton wanted him to do when he wanted him to do it, and they go to the playoffs. I think that's the kind of player that Dillon Gabriel is. He's so smart, and like apparently I heard some stories about him during the pre-draft process where like they went from a guy that didn't do everything right. We can wholeheartedly admit that's what Deshaun Watson was. And you're going to Dillon Gabriel, who does everything the right way. And people just have gushed about him. I mean, 30 touchdowns and 10 wins for 3 different programs. Like, he understands what his role is and how to maximize. He's a little, if he was like 6'2" or 6'3", I'd be freaking out excited. Like, I would be very stoked for this guy in this offense.
So Mina Kimes from ESPN on the Browns offense and figuring out which quarterback will be the starter.
Usually when there's a rookie quarterback, we say, okay, what kind of offense can they build around this quarterback tailored to his skill sets, Cam Ward, Jackson Dart. But that's not how I feel about the Browns. I think we know what this Browns offense is going to look like. It's going to be run first. They drafted 2 running backs, by the way, both of whom I like a lot. In Judkins and Dylan Sampson. And then they also added a tight end, Harold Fanta Jr. There's going to be a lot of multiple tight end sets. It's Kevin Stefanski's offense, going to be a decent amount of under center, play action. So I think for these quarterbacks, Sanders, Gabriel, Pickett, who can operate it? That's what I want to see. Who's better at executing play fakes, throwing on the move off of boots, handling those play fakes? Ball handling is part of this as well. Because I think for Cleveland, evaluating them through that lens is going to determine really who starts the most games for them this year.
And to be honest with you, that all 4 of these guys, run play action, play fake, can do boots. It's just a matter of who shows up. I mean, the question I have about Joe Flacco is, those 5 games he played here in Cleveland were probably the best 5 games he's played since he left Baltimore. Can he do it? Can he do it again?
Yeah, and you also wonder, like, could it be a situation where they start Flacco knowing, like, hey, I don't know that he can get through 17 games, like, at his age, but, obviously less pass attempts could help him in that situation, depending on what goes on there. But it's clear they want it to be one of these young guys. They want a reclamation project like Pickett. And we talked all offseason about, like, just someone who can just run what Kevin wants to do, can go out there and function. And you're right. All 4 of them are have the skill set for one reason or another. I keep coming back to the 2 rookies and thinking, like, those guys, at least one of them is going to get at least a good look this year because they've got 2 first-round picks next year. And if those guys can look good in camp, in practice, in the preseason, they're going to want to know if they've got their franchise quarterback before they get into the 2026 draft. But I'm very interested in this because, like you said, all 4 of these guys can run this offense effectively, and it's just going to be – it's a true quarterback competition. I'm not sure – I know they are kind of giving the we want it to be Kenny Pickett, but I'm not really sure as we sit here at the beginning of May that anybody has a leg up on anybody in that room.
No, and I don't think he can I don't think you can give it to anybody just based on what happened last year at that position. It's got to be wide open, and everybody has to see that competition as being wide open. Jacob Roach, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Jacob.
Thanks, guys.
Jacob Roach, make sure you check him out. Orange and Brown Report. He is also co-host of the Barking Browns podcast. We're going to step aside, take one more time out. Other side of the break. Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Film breakdown, video analysis of all of the draft picks from the Browns draft. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us.
Solo. Are there any lunch specials near me?
You want to learn about Ohio Lottery's Pick 3?
No.
Okay, Pick 3 is a daily draw game.
Cancel.
Where players pick 3 individual numbers between 0 and 9. The numbers can be played straight, where they must be drawn in an exact order, or boxed, where they can be drawn in any order. It's quick to play.
I just want lunch.
Players can win hundreds, and wagers start at 50 cents. The next drawing is coming up. Want directions to the nearest Ohio Lottery retailer?
Yes. One that serves food.
We continue talking Browns on Sports4CLE. Time for film breakdown, video analysis of the draft picks for the Browns. Whenever we do that, we welcome in Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Lance, we're going to take a look at all 7 of the guys. So let's start. Mason Graham, a guy they traded back from 2 to 5, defensive tackle from Michigan.
Well, I'm a little biased here, but here's a 3-down back. You're going to see his hands are very violent. So see here, he gets his hands on you. He's got that great balance as a former state champ wrestler. But what he does really good at, besides being a run stopper, he's really, really, really good as a pass rusher. And he's got great ability. And you'll see him here. That's what he does best. He's kind of just a bull in a china shop. He's a guy who can play multiple positions. Like I said, he's very good with his hands. He's a guy that the Browns, he doesn't even have much of a pass rush plan yet, but he's athletic enough to learn it. He just wins by sheer toughness and sheer athletic. Once he gets that pass rush, he's going to be an elite guy. Obviously, I think I'm biased because he was my number 1 guy on the board, but I think he's a guy, if the Browns can get, their guys up front to kind of buy in and know that they have to play great defense. Mason Graham's going to be the leader of that, him and Myles Garrett. He's a vocal guy. He's nasty. I think he's a great pick at 5.
And again, lines up next to Myles Garrett. That should make him better as well. So second round, I think you and I were both a little surprised. Linebacker. So they go defense. It's Carson Schlesinger, linebacker, with the first pick of the second round, 33rd overall.
You're going to see, if you remember from last year, love Peyton Willing, tall guy, can really run, and what he does in the gap, he gets skinny. And there's a couple clips here. First of all, there he beats the right tackle. You're going to see him beat the right guard here. Right guard's going to come out and block him, and as we play right here, you're going to see the term get skinny. And that tells you he doesn't give the guy much surface area to block. He does that so well, and that's really an instinctual play. He's a great blitzer. You're going to see him here coming A-gap. He bends to the ball. He does a lot of things really well. Now, obviously, you and I were together both those nights, and we were really pushing Burden here because of the Browns' inability to score points. However, going back, this is a linebacker that I did minimal work on. I probably watched 3 or 4 games only on him. The more you break him down, he's an elite defender. Now, if JOK is not okay, then you got to think to yourself, who's playing linebacker? This is a guy come in, he's a little bit old, he can play right away. He's athletic, he doesn't have a lot of tread on the tires. And like I said, he's instinctual, which makes him really, really fast on the football field. Obviously I thought the Browns they still need to figure out what they're going to do talent-wise on offense, but this is a really good linebacker. So this is a guy that I know a lot of people were questioning, including myself, but he's a really good football player, and should that make that defense immediately better.
Yeah, and if JOK is healthy, you play them together, and you've got guys that can go sideline to sideline from the linebacker position. They do go offense finally with the 36th pick. So their second pick in the second round, Quinshon Judkins. What do you see with him?
Well, he's a guy who finishes. He's going to remind a lot of people of Nick Chubb on the second level. So you're going to see him here just a little one-back power. He gets vertical really quick, and then when he gets to that second level, he runs with reckless abandon. And he did a really nice job splitting carries with Travion Henderson. What he gives in this last clip you're going to see, this is a very boring clip, but this is what I love right here. This is just a zone play, and he gets 6 yards. And you and I have talked about it for almost 3 years now, about the Browns being able to get 4 yards or 5 yards or 6 yards on first down to help that quarterback out. Now, you and I sat there and we said, what is the one thing that these first 3 picks have? And what they have is they're all really, really tough football players. And the Browns need a little bit of attitude, a little bit of toughness. Quinshon Judkins is a really tough running back. Even though I had Travion Henderson as my number 1 guy, in terms of what the Browns need and what the Browns drafted later, this is a really good pick. He is physical, he's downhill, got a lot of tread left on the tires, and I think he's going to be a really good fit. He's really going to help that quarterback because the quarterback's going to face 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6, a lot more than he has the last couple years.
So Judkins is the first running back. They'll get another one a little bit later. But first, tight end, Harold Fannin. What do you like about him?
Well, you know, again, I love Harold Fanning. You're going to see him here. He's a run after catch guy, so he's kind of a unique tight end. He's 240 pounds, but he is an elite run after catch, and his best games came against Texas A&M and at Penn State. So he played really well against the big schools. You're going to see him. He's very quarterback friendly, means he's always running really good routes, and he's where he should be. He gets himself really open in the middle of the field, whether on like mini dig routes. You're going to see him here on a seam route. He does a really good job of getting to the second level and making himself available to the quarterback, and he's fearless when he catches the football. Again, he runs from different routes. You know, if you look at him when he's in the game, he plays a lot of things that Kevin Stefanski likes to do. Split him out, put him in the slot, put him out at receiver, put him in the backfield. So he can do lots of different things. Really talented guy. I think this is I think if people would agree, this is a really safe, really sound pick, a guy who can run after catch, and a big play guy for the Browns.
All right, so that was the first of 2 third-round picks. With the second one, they take a quarterback, and it was not the quarterback that most people thought it would be. They go Dylan Gabriel from Oregon.
Well, again, Dylan Gabriel is a guy you're going to see here. He throws with great anticipation and great accuracy. Now, I broke in Dylan Gabriel down, and I'll actually have a post coming out here soon, next couple of days. But Dylan Gabriel, once again, I thought they probably go Xavier Watts here out of Notre Dame, even Billy Bowman out of Oklahoma, sticking with that defensive theme. However, I will say this, fit-wise, he is a perfect fit for Kevin Stefanski. 18,000 yards passing, 155 yards. Now, his height is a concerning thing. However, he's a guy that throws really well on the run. He's a guy who could throw from multiple launch points. He's a guy who anticipates very well. He plays with a lot of confidence. He's a very non-needy guy. He's a workman-type guy. And I think he's a guy that, if you look at what the Browns did, and everybody's talking about Shedeur Sanders, this is the guy they wanted. Everybody, those guys were all on the board here in the third round. And, you know, you and I have talked about it. We don't have to like the pick, but if this was their plan, at least having a plan is important. And this is their guy because they took him. And if you think a quarterback, which is the hardest position in football to try to pick, this is the guy that they wanted. And this is the guy that they thought Kevin Stefanski can make work in his offense. So I'm going to give this a chance. I think he's outstanding. I love his film. He's tough. We had talked about him months ago in terms of I had him a lot higher than others just because I think he's a great football player. He doesn't have all those measurements, but he just makes plays.
Yeah, and you know, we've been saying it'll be interesting to see when Kevin Stefanski gets to coach one of his quarterbacks. Well, this was his quarterback, so again, we'll see what happens with Dylan Gabriel. They come back and get another running back then in the 4th round, and it's a young guy and a talented guy, Dylan Sampson, only 20 years old, from Tennessee.
What you're going to see here is he's really, really patient, and then he has great burst. And what I mean by that is when he gets to the second level, so we've heard in the past about people being quarterback friendly. This guy's offensive line friendly. Here's a little counter. You're going to see him turn the corner here. Again, great burst, and he gets to top speed very, very fast. These guys are more similar than they are, than different. You're going to see him here, really good at breaking tackles. And then once he sees his seam, if you think about Nick Chubb, and Nick Chubb is a great role model if he was able to come back. But this guy has tremendous burst. He's young. He's got a thick lower body, which means he can take some hits and take some punishment. But what I like about him is that he's lineman friendly, so he understands what the lineman's jobs are on every scheme. And you're going to watch when you see these schemes, you're going to see offensive linemen just drill on linebackers because he helps them out. Really smart football, explosive when he gets the ball. Again, these two kind of remind you of Nick Chubb when you put them together. So this is a guy who can split carries, a guy who is explosive, and another guy who gives you run after touch. So he's a running back, so he's not run after catch. But again, an explosive guy and some guys that can create some points and easy yards for the Browns.
So then in the 5th round, the Browns trade up, and they take Shedeur Sanders. And a lot of people have a lot of different opinions. In the 5th round, it's a no-lose pick is Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback out of Colorado, that many had as the top quarterback in the draft.
And I would be included in that. So you're going to see here, here's a linebacker where I pointed to, and you can see him sit. And then behind it, you're going to see this dig route. As he jumps that under route, he throws that dig route right there. This is a classic Pat Shurmur. This is a classic NFL. You've seen it a ton with David Njoku, Amari Cooper when he's here, Jerry Jeudy. Kevin Stefanski loves these high lows. You're going to see here, this is what I like too. When he breaks the pocket and stands there, that's really hard to do. He knows he's going to take a shot here, and he stands there and delivers. Now, I've said this before, and you and I have talked ad nauseum about him. He is a guy that a lot of the off-the-field stuff, whether you like it or not, has affected him. His dad has affected him. He has some things to work on about drifting backwards and staying in the pocket. And he has some, but like you said, in the 5th round, he's going to have to earn his spot because the Browns wanted Dylan Gabriel. Kevin Stefanski wanted Dylan Gabriel. So to get this guy who I had as a #1 quarterback, and more importantly, guys who do, really high-level guys, Orlowski, who really, really liked him, that off-the-field stuff kind of hurt him. So I look forward to see, what's wrong with competition? What's wrong? The Browns haven't had a quarterback in forever. What's wrong with getting these guys in and starting to get competitive, get some tough guys in, get some quarterbacks in? You got to take some shots at quarterback. Everybody misses. So let's take, like you said, this is a guy everybody had, 1 or 2, and you get him in the 5th round. This is an easy choice. Most 5th rounders don't make it. So if he doesn't, oh well, you're still good.
Yeah, and to that point, Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry said they were going to look everywhere they could for quarterback. So it shouldn't really be a surprise that they're bringing 4 in. Now, will 4 be there at the beginning of the year? We'll see. One thing about quarterbacks, if they're playing well, they're assets. You can get something for them.
Yeah, so they all play. So let's imagine they, the majority of them play well. Now you got trade assets. You got, we now know in the NFL that you need more than 1 quarterback. In fact, most of the time you need more than 2. Brown saw that a couple years ago. If people have asked me, what would you have done? Maybe you go get a safety. Maybe you get another receiver. But with Harold Fannin, that tells me the Browns are going to go more to 12 personnel. With the 2 backs they took, tells me they're going back to Kevin Stefanski's now driving the car again, which means they don't need as many receivers. I still think they need to get a playmaker outside and a guy who's got easy touches. It'll be another year of possibly you and I saying, man, we got to get some easy yards, right? The Browns got to be able to create some easy yards, but they do have some guys in Fannin and Sampson and Junkins that could possibly, are going to improve this offense, especially going back to what Kevin Stefanski does very well.
Yeah, I'm with you. We're going to be talking about 13-play touchdown drives again, which is not the norm in the NFL. Lance Reisland, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Lance.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Lance Reisland, make sure you check him out. Really good stuff, film breakdown, video analysis for cleveland.com, as well as The Plain Dealer. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We will see you back here Monday at 4. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you Monday at 4 on Sports for CLE.